raised me after our parents died, then demanded my kidney for my golden child brother. I was 14 when the accident happened, and 11-year-old Caleb was 7. Our Aunt Denise and her husband Frank took us in without hesitation, and for years I was grateful, genuinely grateful, even when it became clear early on that Caleb was the one they'd raised as their own, and I was the one they'd raised as help. I made his lunches from age 15. I paid my own way through nursing school with loans and 2 jobs, while Denise wrote a check for Caleb's tuition, his truck, and eventually his wedding to a woman named Priya, who never once asked why I always sat at the end of the table. I told myself it didn't matter. I built a career. I got licensed, then certified, then promoted twice at the hospital where I still work. I dated a good man named Marcus, and we bought a small house 40 minutes from Denise. Then Caleb's kidneys started failing at 29, some genetic condition nobody had caught. And at Thanksgiving dinner 2 years ago, Denise stood up before dessert and announced, in front of the whole table, that I'd already been tissue typed as a match years ago, just in case. And that it was time I did my part for my brother. I hadn't consented to that testing. I hadn't even known about it. When I said so, calmly, Frank said, Denise did what any mother would do to protect her son. Not our son. Her son. I sat with that word for a long moment, while Caleb stared at his plate and said nothing at all, which told me everything about where he stood. I said I needed time. Denise called it. She called it again the next day, and the day after that. Then she started calling my coworkers' shared hospital line to make sure I was taking this seriously. Then she posted something vague on. Marcus watched me read the comments and asked quietly why I was still. I changed my number, moved our mail to a P.O. box, and told the 2 cousins who still mattered to me that I loved them. Denise showed up at my house once, in April, and stood on the porch for 20 minutes telling Marcus through the door that I was killing my brother. I didn't come downstairs. I let 3 years pass in near total silence, and in that silence I made chief PA at my hospital, closed on a bigger house with Marcus, and finally slept through a full night. Caleb got his kidney from the transplant registry 8 months in, from a stranger in Ohio he never met, which is apparently how it should have gone. Last month Denise found my new number through my cousin Ashley, who I'd forgiven enough to let stay in my life. She called 3 times before I picked up. Frank's health was failing, she said, and there were bills and I let her finish. Then I told her evenly that I hoped Frank felt better soon, that I wasn't in a position to help, and that I needed to go start my shift. I didn't bring up the testing I never agreed to. I didn't bring up the porch, or the Facebook post, or the years I spent making Caleb's lunches while nobody made mine. I didn't need to remind her of any of it. She already knew. I could hear it in the silence before she hung up.